All right, so our last movie of the day is going to be Set It Off. Set It Off is the
Yes.
movie directed by F. Gary Gray. This is the 1996 film starring Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett Smith, Vivica A. Fox, Kimberly Elise. It's about these four women who are desperate. They are desperate, to say the least.
Oof.
They all have a reason for needing money bad. You have Kimberly Elise's character, who's TT. She is a single mother. She's working a janitorial job along with the other women. She's in fear of losing her child, so that's why she needs a lot of money to afford a babysitter to look after her child while she's at work. You have Jada Pinkett Smith's character, who's Stony in this. Who her reason for needing a lot of money is because she wants to help her brother go to college and pay for that. You have also Vivica A. Fox's character, who at the beginning of the movie you see that her bank gets robbed, and then because she had knowledge of the robbers, she had an association with them. She ends up getting fired from her job, so she needs a job and she needs money. Queen Latifah, her reason. Well, hey, everybody needs some new rims. That's kind of
Cleo,
important.
man. Cleo a gangster.
Like Queen Latifah, Cleo, hey, everybody wants to fix up their car a little bit,
Yeah,
get a new
new
paint
low
job,
level.
so, and when she fixes up the car, it does look nice. I have to admit it does look pretty good when she
It was
does kind
dope.
of fix up and get the money. So, because these women are in such desperate and dire straits, it kind of forces them to kind of go like, what if we just come together and rob a bank? And get money that way. And you know how most of these stories kind of go, involving thieves, involving bank robbers. Starts off great 1 minute, it's like, hey, you pulled it off, you got lucky, but then
You get
become
greedy.
get greedy and keep doing it more and more, and that kind of leads to your eventual downfall. A person who is on their case is John C. McGinley, who's a detective who's investigating these bank robberies in LA. And I remember, did you ever see that movie Den of Thieves? Did you ever see that?
A while ago, yeah.
I remember the opening of that movie. They say like LA has like the most bank robberies of any place in America. I forgot the exact stat they put at the beginning. I mean, it's probably a movie, so it's probably bullshit. But
Probably.
yeah, more likely bullshit. But they like LA has like the most bank robberies of any place ever, or something like that. I forgot that it was like the beginning of Den of Thieves or something. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Sure it is.
yeah. But this is in set in Los Angeles here, LA, and you do get some LA cameos. Like you get Dr. Dre, who's in this, who I can't remember if I've ever seen this movie before. I don't know if this is my first time. I was like, I have vague memories of this movie.
I haven't seen it since I was a baby.
Since you were a baby, while you were in the
Not like a
crib.
literal baby, like maybe like 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
Watching this. So I can't remember if this is the very first time I've seen it, or I've seen it maybe a long time ago and I just forgot certain things about it, or just because I have vague memories of this. I remember, of course, the women in this. I remember the ending of it because the ending is pretty brutal.
Woo!
Yeah, that's a pretty brutal ending there,
Man.
that you have at the end. But yeah, so I forget, you have like Dr. Dre, who's in this, who's one of the people they go to.
He's an arms dealer, yeah.
Yeah, arms dealer in this because they, of course, need guns to commit the bank robberies. And you also have, like, of course, quintessential 90s black people in here, like Jada Pinkett Smith. People forget that she was in a lot of stuff back in the day.
She was running it. Her and Vivica, they were killing it. I think Vivica said she got this role right on the set of Independence Day.
Oh, wow.
And Will was like, nah, you need to do this movie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Vivica A. Fox. Yeah. Queen Latifah was blown up because she was in Living Single at this time already.
Oh, yeah,
right?
she was doing Living Single. She was still like, the queen of hip hop. She was in Juice. So yeah, Latifah, yeah, she's been around forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She made a debut in Juice too, because she was the person, the party promoter, or the person
The
who owned
party
the club.
trying to get a DJ.
Yeah, she was in that. Yeah. Kimberly Elise, I don't know. She didn't really do. I think this was her.
This was her first role.
Yeah, so this was her first role. She didn't really did much after this.
She's popped up in stuff here and there. I remember her mostly. Last time I seen her was in Dope. She was Shamik Moore's mom.
Yeah, she was. Oh yeah, she was Shamik Moore's mom in that, and she was also she's been in some Tyler Perry movies too.
Yes, man, in a few Tyler Perry movies. That's where people meme her crying face.
Yeah, what movie was that? That was what they
I
mean.
couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I think that was Why Did I Get Married? I
But I
mean,
get
not
married. No,
not Why Did I
no.
Get Married?
Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
Yeah, Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one. Yeah,
feel
she's
good
yeah.
movie.
Yeah. So yeah, so you've seen her kind of pop up in some places since then, but yeah, but this was set off as like her first big thing was set
Hmm.
it off back in '96. But yeah, also like Blair Underwood is in this as well, quintessential
Yes.
black male love
If you need a
interest.
brother in the '90s and Denzel isn't available, you call
Yeah.
Blair Underwood
Blair Underwood or Omar Epps was big.
or my man from the Allstate commercials,
Dennis Haysbert in
Dennis
this, right?
Haybert. There you
Dennis
go.
Haysbert.
That was the '90s black.
But yeah, you had so like black. So in black movies, you had usually your typical black love interest was either Nia Long in the '90s.
Hmm.
Then in the early 2000s, you kind of had Megan Good
Or
and
Gabrielle Union.
Gabrielle Union or Laura
Hmm.
London. Those were usually
Hmm.
the four big love interests that you had in a black movie. And then
You're,
with
and
males,
then
it was
what about
it,
Taraji?
Taraji P.
A little
In
later,
the
little later.
a little
Yeah,
later on. And then black male love interest, like you mentioned, Blair Underwood, Denzel Washington, Omar Epps. And I feel like I'm missing one other
Lorenz
person.
Tate,
Lorenz Tate. Yeah, Lorenz Tate was
who
also another
still
big.
looks 20.
Yeah, still looks 20. Yeah, because people remember he was in Lorenz Tate, big one, Brown Sugar, right?
No, that's Tay Diggs.
Oh, that's Tate Diggs. I'm sorry. What was the one?
Love Jones.
Love Jones. Love
My
Jones. That's the
mama
one.
loves that movie. If you're black and you grew up in the '90s, you love some Love Jones.
Yeah, I think when we did for February Black History Month, we did it. We put up a poll, and I put up Love Jones, and I put up also the one with Tate Diggs, Brown Sugar. They
Yeah,
they didn't win though. They didn't win, but because
that's a good shame.
I've never seen Love Jones, and I've never seen Brown Sugar.
Brown
Shame on me.
Sugar is my preference because it's about hip hop. It's a love story told within two friends who love rap music. And Sanaa Lathan is gorgeous, and Queen Latifah, of course, is in this. So a whole lot of great rappers in that. Most Def shows up, but we're on a tangent. So set it off.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I forgot that was another big black love interest back then, Shania Lathan, because she was loving
Sanaa
basketball.
Lathan, woo,
She
still look
that was
good.
yeah.
Loving
But yeah,
basketball. Anyway,
loving basketball. But yeah, so set it off like Jamarco was saying. Yeah, set it off there about these four women. Yeah, so prominent, all female led cast here of black women in desperate situations. You see why each of them kind of gets pushed to crime, pushed to rob these banks, and and I would say great chemistry between all these women. Really, really
oh
great
yeah,
chemistry between all these women here. And you see kind of I like how the movie establishes at the very beginning, it's not just a couple of hard things that happen. It's like you see a series of events that just keep getting worse and worse and worse for
it's a
all these
hard
different.
life,
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's a hard knock life. I mean, pretty much
man.
there for all these women. And you see, like, where Jada Pinkett, her character gets pushed into, having sex with this older dude, which
Dude for
is
money, yeah. Oof.
and that's a really like sad scene there. In order to get the money and for her brother to go to college, and then for him to go like, yeah, I didn't get into
I didn't get
UCLA,
it.
I didn't get in and everything like that. And then she rips up which I'm like, why did you rip up the check? I mean, why did you
Oh yeah,
still?
that wasn't really smart of you, Stoney. You could
Yeah,
have
like
put
why
that in
did you,
your pocket.
at least put it into a savings plan or something like that.
She wasn't
Like
thinking. She was yeah. She was being irrational.
but for her to do that, you see like with TT's character Kimberly Elise, you see like she has to take her kid with her to work. That and then the kid, they work a cleaning service job where they're like a janitorial service where they clean up an office, and then the kid accidentally drinks some cleaning fluid, and then he goes to the
Oof.
hospital. They have to call an ambulance. He goes to the hospital, and then the kid gets taken away from her, and she has to spend all this money for court fees and to get a babysitter to take care of the kid while she's at work. So you see kind of that. You see with Vivica A. Fox. I mean, her, of course, losing a job is always hard. She does get another job at the janitorial service, but you don't see. Obviously, she's probably not making the same amount of money she's there because she just got a promotion at work
Right.
at the bank, Vivica A. Fox. So she's not making the same type of money she was making there at the bank that she's going to be making at the janitorial service. And you could tell you could tell this movie now, is so 90s, and it's such a period piece of now
It's so
because
in West Coast.
yeah, West Coast, because you could tell because there's a scene where they're sitting on the roof, they're sitting there talking, and they're like, man, I can't wait to
Being
get
high.
that 15 an hour job. That's gonna be big money. If I get that job, I can get this and that. It's like, what the
I'm sitting there watching like shit.
motherfuckers
All right,
making
Frankie.
20 something an hour and still struggling. It's like, god damn, right now. So that's like totally back then. And I mean, she's talking about affording her brother's college. Like college back then was like what, $500
Yeah,
back
you could
then.
probably get into UCLA just off a check today.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, so that was kind of something that shows that kind of that period of time. But I'll pass it to you. You mentioned how West Coast
Yes,
this
yes.
movie is. You want to go into that more?
Well, yeah, most definitely. As you mentioned earlier, F. Gary Gray is the director behind this, and most of y'all may know him from directing a little movie called Friday. And watching this, you could kind of almost, because he made this like the year afterwards. You can almost kind of see it's at the B side of Friday, where you know that movie painted California life in a very positive, easygoing, breezy kind of way. You got the lowriders and your bike, smoke weed. The bully may fuck with you, but that's fine. It's whatever. But this one is a little darker. It's more cynical. It shows you how shitty LA could be, and especially in the wake of the Rodney King riots that popped off. You could feel that animosity between the police and these black women, and just all the music is great. The lowrider culture, the cameos. You mentioned Dr. Dre, but the beginning, Dub C, he's another famous West Coast rapper. He's the one who sticks up Vivica Fox, Darnell, the guy who gets her fired. So it just felt so authentic, and a lot of these hood movies can come off as corny, but F. Gary Gray really makes you feel like you're in California, and that love radiates throughout the film. And you can say the same for Straight Outta Compton. Like, just all of his movies set in LA have a very specific tone that makes it worth watching.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say famous director you might know, Fate of the Furious.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, well, or Men in Black International.
Men in
Don't
Black International. Ugh,
don't watch that one.
jeez. But yeah, I mean, a character that you're right, he did Friday 1995 and did this the year after that.
Damn.
Which set it off there. So yeah, and Friday was his first movie. Yeah, Friday was his
Yeah.
first movie, and this was his second one. And then he went to a complete kind of tone shift in his third movie with The Negotiator, which was the movie with Kevin Spacey and then
Oh,
Samuel
that's
Jackson.
right.
So it's
Yeah,
kind of
he's got a wacky career. He did
Yeah.
Law Abiding Citizen too.
Yeah, and he did The Italian Job. So he's kind of got like this nice variety of different kind of movies that he's
Yeah, he
done
tried stuff out.
in his career. So which is nice. And when this movie came out, it was met with very much praise. Box office success. It had a small budget of $9 million and made $41 million in the box office. So it, did pretty well there. A lot of people talk about the soundtrack of this. So 90s, you got a lot of good classic R&B, hip hop in here. There's a scene where Jada Pinkett Smith and Blair Underwood, because that's her love interest in this movie, they kind of make a connection here. Why Jada Pinkett Smith is casing a bank in here. And they go out, and then there's a love scene they have in the movie, which is basically like it's like a whole separate thing. It's basically like a music video. It's basically like an
It's like a
R&B.
massage and candles and all types of shit. Well, okay, whoa, are we still watching Set It Off?
Yeah, it's like a whole separate thing. It's like you watching a whole separate music
And
video
then
going on.
jamming in Vogue.
And it's hot. I mean, it's a
That's
hot.
a
It's a hot.
that's the jam.
So
What's it gonna be? Sorry.
So it was, yeah. I mean, so you kind of have that about the kind of the soundtrack kind of going on, which is pretty good. Yeah, speaking about kind of the police presence here, you have John C. McGinley. People might know he was in Scrubs. He was
Yep.
he was in that for a long time. People might know him. And that. What do you think about some of kind of the other, besides the four women, the others kind of supporting players in this movie here?
Well, yeah,
Like people like Blair Underwood and everything.
well, that's the thing about it. These four women, they all have their own thing going on, like you said, and everybody kind of gets sucked into that osmosis. Like Blair Underwood, he's a good brother, educated, went to Harvard, and Jada can't get out of the life. And one of the standout characters for me was punk ass Luther, who was the manager of the janitorial company the women were working for, and he was just an asshole, just rude. Like you could not talk to a woman like this today. Like you just straight up just cursing out TT. You just like you dumb bitch, get you back in. I'm like whoa, Luther. But Luther gets his comeuppance in the end. But he was just aggravating and just like I love Queen Latifah and her blonde girlfriend who didn't say anything.
Yeah, I was trying to see like if I recognize that woman. Was that the woman that was also in Girlfriends? I think she was like the mom or somebody in that.
I
I
don't
think,
know. I have to IMDb her, but I was like, oh, because when I was a kid, I remember seeing the blonde fade, and I was like, I wonder if she does something. She never really does anything.
yeah, because I was wondering, yeah, but if I recognized her before, but yeah, so you see, you kind of have a nice, interesting supporting cast that kind of rounds things. You mentioned Luther, you mentioned Blair Underwood, like you said, he sees J.D. Pickett Smith, in the bank, just immediately goes like, "Hey, you want to go out? Just want to go out, want to,
Shoots his
go out, see,
shot.
shoot his shot, it
I'm
helps
not
that,
from around here.
it helps that Blair and Wood looks like a good-looking movie star from the 1920s.
Yeah,
Uh,
strong
yeah,
face.
strong face, got that kind of like that 1940s haircut it got going on, curls there, the little mustache, kind of happening there. So that kind of helps a lot.
He looks like a jazz saxophonist.
Yeah,
Mo
yeah,
Better
like
Blues.
Mo Better Blues type look. Yeah. So I think that helps a lot. But yeah, but mostly the film does a great job at showing these four women, showing their characters, showing the reasons why they have to do what they have to do, what pushes them into doing what they have to do. And I think it does a great job at that. I would say out of these four women, um, Kimberly Elise is playing kind of one note a little bit. Like a lot of her is just to look scared a lot, look
Yeah,
kind of
she's
terrified.
the Diddy kind of weak. Well, like she's I don't want to be too mean, but she's very like naive, the most naive of the four in a way.
Yeah,
Kind
because
of a
when they
simple-minded character.
Yeah, very, very kind of that. That's a good word to describe it. Because when they try to do their very first robbery, she just runs away. She's like, "Fuck this! I'm the," you know what I mean? Like, which is kind of a natural reaction. Maybe a lot of people would have. Like when you really talk about it and build up to it, it's like, "Fuck this! I'm not doing this." Like I'm running out. Like fuck this,
Now it's a bad
But
idea, y'all.
but Vivica A. Fox just goes in and like, fuck this, I'm going, and goes in and she kind of leads the charge here. Um, but yeah, I mean, eventually she kind of gets more on there. I mean, would you say kind of the big standouts here from these group of women is probably Queen Latifah and Jada Pinkett, or
Oh
do you think
yeah,
it's tough
absolutely.
to say?
Well, for me, I think Queen Latifah, Cleo stole the movie. I think most people would agree with you, but like in this era, like because everybody was doing gangster movies after this, like every gangster movie has that one character that sticks out to you, like Ice Cube is Doughboy and Boys in the Hood, or Lorenz Taylor is O Dog and Menace to Society, and I think this is her like big gangster moment, and she goes all the way in because out of all four of the characters, like everybody kind of has a purpose, you know. Frankie wants to, move on with her life, and Stony wants to make it work with Blair Underwood, and TT wants to take care of her kid, and Cleo's like, "Fuck it, I just want to smoke weed and do gangster hood rat shit with my friends." Like, she 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 rides for her friends, but she's probably, if you watch it, she's like the most arrogant and the most hot headed of them because she's like, "Yeah, fuck it, man, let's just go ahead and rob bank right now." Like, and Stony's like, "I'm seriously trying to not do this." And as much grief as people love to give Jada these days, like we mustn't forget, like she is a legit good actor sometimes. And I was very impressed by her emotional scenes and just because her and Cleo, they hold most of the emotional weight. They have the most emotional riffs between them. So, see those characters' arcs from the beginning to the end. Spoiler alert, doesn't end pretty for most of them. To see the progression throughout this movie, it makes the bond between these four makes the ending that much more impactful.
Yeah.
So, and I think Queen Latifah's exit probably one of the most gangster exits of all time. I got a little emotional at the end, especially when the song kicked in. I was like,
Mm,
oh shit.
yeah.
She went out with that low rider, lit that cigarette, and just yeah,
Mm.
that was memorable.
Oh yeah, yeah. Queen Latifah, yeah, big standout in here. A scene stealer and a lot of stuff she, and that look, it's like that gangster stuff with the braids, especially.
The
You
hard
see
look.
hard look. You see where she's like in the lineup scene where she does that stare
Like,
that she gives. You know,
woo.
very very terrifying there. So yeah, very scene stealing. You can tell, yeah, she's the hot headed one. Like, you always have those kind of personality types in like a bank robbery or thief kind of situation. You got person who's more a little bit more like hot headed. You got a person who's a little bit more scary. You got a person who's a little bit more of the more
The
level headed
rational
leader.
one.
Yeah, the rational one, level-headed one, rational one. So you kind of have those different. So Quincy is more the wild card type, kind of going on. Because even when they do their first robbery, she coming in screaming, she's coming in, you know what I mean? They come back and yelling and fires off the gun by accident up in the sky.
Yep.
Hits, what I mean? She's totally erratic there. And you see when they get the money, she quit her job. They only got like the first robbery they did, they only got like what 3,000 each or something, and she already quit
Oh,
it.
the '90s.
Yeah, she's like, man, I ain't going back to work. I'll just rob another bank. You know what I mean? Off of just $3,000 already. She's just spending it, and it's like, yeah.
You're like, what?
Um,
All right.
but yeah, like I said, they're like her and Jada Pinkett are a big emotional core. Like they have a big fight, big riff in it, and everything like that. And you kind of see that between these women, and like I said, the greedy nature of things.
Hmm.
Because when they do the first robbery, and TT was like, they give her cut. It's like Vivica A. Fox like, wait, hold on a minute, why the fuck is she getting a cut? She didn't do shit, like
Hmm.
you kind of
Hmm.
see it there. And but she was kind of like comes back to her senses and was like, okay, I realize, right, you're my friend, you need the money, and everything like that. So it kind of come back there. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, yeah. So I kind of loved a lot about that. I think this movie really is. I mean, the great direction of it, like I said, the great direction of it, the West Coast style of it, the music of it, and the fact that it is really care about these great performances by these four women. Do a great job, and the brutal nature of it. Even though with these type of movies, it does have those bank robbery tropes, things that kind of go on there. I think it still excels at telling that story of making you care about all these women and making you
Agreed.
and care about their stories, which I think is very important there. So when the ending comes, when you see them kind of all go out like TT's first, did you think it made sense for Jada Pinkett's character Stony to be the last one, to be the one that actually makes it out?
Well, yeah, because to be fair, I don't want to make it a competition, but she kind of suffered the most. Like, her brother gets popped off in the beginning, and we spent the most time with her. Because every like as much as no one wants to admit it, like every ensemble has like their lead character. So although we have this group of people, we gotta follow this one person throughout their whole story. And since we spent the most time with Stony, it made sense that she'd be the one to get out. She's got the man. She lost everything at the end of that movie. Like, it would be cruel to kill every single one of those people. So somebody had to get out of there, and it was gonna be Stony because lost her brother, lost her man, lost her homies. She got a little money, but you can't replace friendship and your family. So you know, for her to be the lone survivor made a lot of sense to me.
Mm, yeah. So you see, TT, she's the first one that gets killed in the bank, and it's weird what happens. So the police, they finally
They got
get
him.
to them. They got them. They John C. McGinley's character. It's like, hey, hands up. We know who you are. We've been tracking you. They're at the bank, and then all of a sudden the bank guard comes out of nowhere
Just comes out of
like he's fucking John
pow
Wayne.
pow.
You know what I mean? And just fight when they're lowering their guns and everything like that. This dude just comes out of fucking nowhere.
He didn't get the
Uh,
memo. I mean, he was yelling.
like, bro, do you not see these other police that are right here? They're doing it. That they're handling the situation. Like, and he just pops up out of nowhere and just
He had a
fires
vendetta.
on him. And tries out of nowhere. It's like that was crazy. So she ends up getting shot. And then they take her in the car. She ends up dying in the car. After her, there's Queen Latifah's character who, is a big chase after them, helicopters, everything, big chase after them. They end up splitting off Queen Latifah's character. And like I said, really, I think iconic death scene there. of like pumps up the lowrider, gets in there,
I'm
drives
gonna do
through
the song while you describe day after day.
the drives through this whole police barricade with cars, and then yeah, just fires on the police, and she ends up getting shot up.
It's really
Something
that's traumatizing. That traumatized me as a kid, seeing Queen Latifah get shot up.
which is like, think of like, if people don't, yeah, have never seen this movie, think of like Scarface, Tony Montana, think
Yep,
of like Training Day, Denzel Washington, Lonzo, where he's just,
exactly.
you know, that's exactly what it was. Then after that, Vivica Fox's character, she's walking, and then boom, and then you see a lot of this, a lot of the shootings, except for Queen Latifah's character, a lot of the shootings are just completely in the movie. A lot of the deaths, really, you could say unjustified.
Hell yeah.
With Jada Pinkett Smith's brother, he's on the ground, he's got a bottle in his hand, and they just all fire on him.
Mm-hmm.
You see the scene where, with TT's character, she's lowering her gun. Guy comes out of nowhere, shoots her.
John
Uh,
Wick.
yeah, and then you see with Vivica Fox's character, she's turning around, she's running
Yeah.
away, and they fire on her there, and she dies. Yeah, you see that Jada Pinkett Smith, Stoney, sees it on the bus when she's trying to leave. She sees that happen, sees her just get gunned down, just right there. So like I said, this being in 1996, because the Rodney King riots happened in, was it
94.
94? And that was a big thing about police brutality.
Oh, I don't know.
90,
92. Excuse me. 92.
92.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the LA police, that was a lot of, being accused of being very violent. Still to this day, they get accused of
The
being
LAPD. Yeah. Yeah.
very much like a gang, in the way they kind of police LA neighborhoods, things like that. Um, so yeah, I mean, this was great, kind of going back and watching this again. I'm glad that this won the poll from the Primonth. What kind of do you have any real big negatives with this movie? You would set it off.
None that come to mind really. I just thought it was a really well done action crime flick. Like I as much as we could knock off some points for overacting and cheesing directing, but that was the time. I love the slow mo and you know Kimberly Elise. No, this is our first role, so be nice, everybody. But there are scenes where she's very emotional, and you're kind of like, oh, yeah, should have workshopped that a little bit. But like I said, it's the chemistry between all these women and everything. Like the movie works because these four women work, and
Yeah,
and and that's what sells it for me.
yeah. What would be your rating for it?
Oh, this is a very very high tune in. Um, I really enjoyed this. I usually worry because a lot of movies from the '90s don't hold up that well, but this is legit. This is I had a really good time with it. It's heartbreaking. It'll have some tissues on you because you will cry. I got a little emotional at the end too, just seeing this journey. And there's moments of levity as well, like them hanging out and drinking and smoking at parties, and them doing a Godfather homage, which I found really hilarious.
Mm.
One of the standout moments of the movie for me. And I would recommend that you would follow this up with Widows, because when I was watching it, I didn't realize it. Because when I was telling my friends I was watching, they're like, "Oh, so that's kind of like Widows of the '90s." I was like, "You know what? You're kind of, yeah." When Viola Davis and Michelle Rodriguez and all of them
I
rob a
never
bank.
seen that movie. I heard
Yeah,
it wasn't really that good. I heard it
I
was.
enjoyed it. I had a really good time. I think people expected Steve McQueen to make a different type of movie than he was making. But the cast is great. Michelle Rodriguez, Viola Davis, what's her name from Tenet? Elizabeth Debicki, Jackie Weaver, Brian Tyree Henry, Daniel Kaluuya, Colin Farrell. Yeah, all stars. But back to set it off. Uh, I think this is one of a lot of us films, a lot of films of black culture we hold in high regard for a specific reason to set it off. It's not only influential because of you see black women in an action movie kicking ass, you know, shooting police officers, but there's it's awesome and but there's a great emotional sisterhood. There's a core that keeps people coming back. Like I was just watching The Blackening, and there was a great set it off joke in there. Like this movie lives forever for Queen Latifah's Cleo, for these women, for the soundtrack, for just the vibe that F. Gary Gray gave off. So very, very, very high tuned.
Yeah, I think you said it better than I could say it with this movie. Great wrap up, great final thoughts there, great review.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I agree everything with Jamarco said. I remember checking this movie out. I think it's quintessential viewing there. And like I said, this was an important movie because you had these four black women doing this, and it was a box office success. That was another thing too. There was box office success for black people in movies before Black Panther. You know what I mean? It
Oh,
was
yeah, we've been around for a minute.
yeah, so yeah, but this was made on a smaller budget and everything like that, and it looked great. F. Grade Gray, this is his second movie. F. Grade Gray, great director, done a lot of great projects in his career, and
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely, I give it also a strong tune in for Set It Off.